Hey there, good evening. Nice to see you. It's time for the Bronx Buzz. This is Bronx Net's program where we talk to reporters and writers and journalists and editors and all different people who put stuff out about the Bronx. And that this way you get a chance to find out who they are and what they're writing about, what they're thinking about. And in our second segment, we're going to be going to the Mott Haven Film Festival, which is going to be enjoyable for all of us. But right now, let's bring in one of our buddies. It is Ethan Stark Miller. He covers New York City and state politics for AM New York Metro. Nice to see you, Ethan.
Nice to see you, Gary.
You've done a lot of work on this little issue called housing. And the mayor presented a housing plan, which was interesting. I've got a couple of questions to ask about it, but why don't you just tell us in general what Mayor Adams' vision is of how to create more housing in New York City?
Yeah, I mean, so basically, he's rolled out this list of zoning changes that he wants to make that would allow for development in areas that haven't been open to development so far, around like transit stations and making apartment, kind of paving the way for like SE, what is it called again? SRO type housing.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, where there's shared, kitchens and bathrooms and such. So this has been a big push of his to make it easier to build in many swaths of the city where zoning rules that have been added over the decades have made it more difficult. He says that his plan that he released, it was like late last month, would lead to the construction of 100,000 units over the next 15 years if it is actually fully implemented. Previously, he said that he wanted to build 500,000 units in the next 10 years.
Listen, we all want to build all those units.
Yeah.
I vote yes, but there's some issues in there.
Yeah.
Well, now there's a couple of issues. Number one, certainly in the Bronx, where we have the 4 Metro North stations, that would make sense to have more housing. You mentioned transit hubs and things like that. Are we talking about building new housing, or are we talking about conversions?
Both
Nation.
actually. So these, first of all, yes, making it easier to actually build new housing from scratch. But then also, we have a lot of apartment buildings, especially in Manhattan. Not sure, or not apartment buildings, sorry, office buildings, especially in Manhattan.
Yeah, I was going to ask you certainly about that. That's a big thing.
So yeah, that's been a big thing for the mayor, like converting office space that is now underutilized because of the pandemic, because many companies have terminated their leases or gone to smaller spaces due to remote work, converting those office buildings into housing, which is kind of an onerous process because a lot of these buildings were
Right.
constructed, in a different fashion than you would build an apartment building,
Yeah.
and need, these kind of multi-million dollar conversions. Not sure how many office buildings there are in the Bronx that this would apply to, but
That's
definitely in
probably
Manhattan is
true.
a big thing.
Among the things that I read about it is because, in an office building, you have offices, but one bathroom on the floor. And the question was, would people want to live in a place where they shared bathrooms with their neighbors? Which is, because the plumbing infrastructure may not exist in those office buildings to, put a bathroom in every cubicle, so to speak.
Right.
But so we don't know. One of the big sticking points, as I understand, and the city council has taken note of it, is in the plan. Because currently, when you build housing, I think the number is 30%. You need 30%. Let's say you build 100 apartments, then you need 30 parking spaces so that people have a place to park. The mayor wants to kind of do away with that requirement. That's a sticky thing, and the city council, I believe, has rightly said, "Well, wait a minute." Do you know where we're at with that? I mean, because that was a big thing.
Yeah, well, not exactly sure if there's been any more development on that. The plan was just rolled out a couple of weeks ago, but it's going to need approval from the council. And it's going to go through a bunch of other going to have to go through a bunch of other hoops in order to actually get approved. So there's probably going to be a lot more input and possibly some changes to a controversial rule like that. That was actually something I should have mentioned before. People are very
I brought it up. I brought it up to help you out.
Thank you, Gary. People are very protective of their parking, as we know.
Oh yeah.
Especially in transit deserts, which there's quite a few of in the Bronx,
Right.
and other parts of the outer boroughs. So yeah, it's hard to tell if that part of the plan will
Fly.
fully fly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, I believe the Times had a story over the weekend that talked about is parking as bad as you think it is in New York? And they say, yeah, it's worse because we have more cars since the pandemic. I mean, we all know what's going on. I know I live in an apartment building down the block from where these are, as a matter of fact. I live in an apartment building, and I think we got about 85 apartments in this building, and there are like 25 or 30 spaces, and there are many more than 25 or 30 residents who need parking. So that will be an interesting thing. Let's move on to what the mayor said about the migrant crisis and where we are at. And you've done a lot of work on it. So number one, he said the migrant crisis would destroy New York City. And then, he came to the Bronx at the Bronx Chamber event, and he said, well, people are kind of, using their thesaurus on my words. So whatever, maybe that's his way of backing off it. But now the biggest controversy is to suspend the shelter mandate. And that is, we have a rule in New York City that everybody's entitled to shelter. And he wants to suspend that for that quote unquote class of people. Where are we at?
Yeah, so this is like kind of a long, complicated
We
series.
don't have all that much time, but we're going to give you a chance to talk about it.
Yeah, okay. I'll condense it as much as I can. So in May, basically, the administration submitted a motion to a Manhattan Supreme Court judge asking to change this right to shelter, which was established in 1981 through a court decision called a consent decree. And now they've revised their request. I mean, basically, they wanted to suspend it whenever the city lacked the resources or capacity. So we have all these, now it's like around 63,000 migrants in shelters. They're arguing if we have to keep, sheltering more and more people, this endless stream, then we're just not going to have enough space, and it's going to completely deplete the city's resources.
Well, you brought up a very interesting point there. So the question is, if the city can show it doesn't have the resources, and at this point, I think people believe, and the mayor believes he can show that we don't have the resources, would this, allow for that exception? I guess that's the real question. Of course, advocates and certainly many city council members weren't thrilled.
Yeah, and that's still an outstanding question of whether the court will allow it. And actually, the administration has changed their request to make it even broader, where they're asking now for the court to suspend the right to shelter in a time of emergency when the mayor or the governor has declared a state of emergency. So that's even broader. And yes, advocates and city council members, the more progressive city council members, are definitely not happy about this.
Right.
They're fiercely defending the city's right to shelter and arguing that, changes that are intended to decrease pressure from the migrant crisis are going to end up impacting any homeless New Yorker.
Right. In other words, we got away with that one. Well, it is an emergency situation for generally homeless people.
Right.
Well.
Any time could be an emergency. Yeah.
Well, you know what is interesting to me is the timing of it, because all of these things will be resolved in some form by the city council, but there's nothing to be done now. You can't even have the discussion because they're all running for re-election in just a couple of weeks. So there's really, you and I can have this conversation, but nothing's really going to happen until we get through the first of the year, and they get back to session and find out who the new city council is, et cetera, et cetera. There was one other thing that I thought was interesting that you wrote about, and that was the idea that the New York City housing voucher recipients can apply for subsidies for city housing beyond the city limits. So if you were, I guess, receiving a subsidy, and then I guess, I don't know, you move to Westchester or Rockland or upstate, you can still get a subsidy. Interesting question. And I guess the mayor is trying to encourage people to get the heck out of here. I mean, I don't know. I'm just guessing there.
Yeah, well, I think this was kind of billed as another relief valve for the city's shelter system. If more homeless New Yorkers moved out of the city using these vouchers in other, municipalities around the state, that would free up some space in the shelters. So, there'd be more space for incoming migrants. I mean, the plan was applauded by advocates, who said it's good to give people more options. But upstate counties that have been pretty resistant to accepting migrants in their communities were also resistant to this idea. So
I'm sure they are.
We'll see if it gets met with legal challenges.
Well, on the other hand, can they really have input? I mean, if the city wants to, do this, I mean, I don't know that a municipality elsewhere can say you can't do this. Listen, before we run out of time, just curious for you covering this mayor. Difficult to cover? Is it tougher around City Hall? He's basically said, I don't care what those reporters say. I want to, do what I want to do. Do you? What's it been like? I mean, doing the great work that you do.
Well, thank you, Gary. I don't have much to compare it to. I didn't really cover previous.
That's true. You were doing local. Yeah.
But I mean, I think he's not always necessarily the most, or the administration isn't always necessarily the most cooperative, but I'm not sure if that's necessarily very different from previous administrations. I mean, he recently made this decision that he's only going to take questions called off-topic questions where reporters can ask anything they want.
Right.
Not the stated topic of the event.
Yeah, he was very particular about that for a while.
Right. And now we can only ask those questions once a week on Tuesdays.
We're recording this on a Tuesday. I hope I'm not messing you up here.
No, actually.
You have one chance to get your questions in.
Just concluded a little while ago.
Oh, there you go.
But yeah, I mean, the accessibility this administration versus others, it's hard to tell for me because of my.
Right, fair enough. Listen, you're great. Ethan Stark-Miller covers New York City and state politics for AM New York Metro, and he comes on our show to kind of fill us in with what's going on. Thank you so much for joining us on the Bronx Buzz. We'll take a short break right now, and then we'll go to the Mott Haven Film Festival. What a joy. We'll be right back.
Dear moms and dads, what you have achieved here today is going to help us and our futures. It is why we are coming up on stage to collect your diplomas.
It's true.
Mom, we love you always.
Everything I do.
When you graduate, they graduate. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you.
Fostering a pet for a friend or neighbor can keep families together. Learn more at petsandpeopletogether.org.
Most hiring algorithms would scream me out.
Some bosses couldn't see me as a leader.
I've run this place for 20 years, but I still need to prove that I'm more than what you see on paper.
I've been running code as long as I've been able to reach a keyboard.
This is what I do. It's second nature for me, coordinating 100 details at once.
It's the way my mind works. I have a very mechanical brain.
I sold them on my skills.
You gotta be so good they can't ignore you.
My magic is
analytics and empathy. That's how I'm getting clients. You have to have the confidence in yourself to show up and defy the odds.
I'm more than who I am on paper.
I never never got a college degree. And today, I'm the CEO of my own company. People want to tell me I'm one in a million, when actually I'm one of millions. Stars are all around us. It's time for them to shine.
Okay, back with you on the Bronx Buzz. Thanks to Ethan. He does a great job and he's so important to all of us. And here's something else that's important to all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, drum roll. The Mott Haven Film Festival, my buddy Ninoska Carolina. Nice to see you, Ninoska.
Nice to see you too. Thank you for having me today.
So here we are. Now, let's see, fourth. This is the fourth time we're doing the Mott Haven Film Festival. Do tell.
Yes, fourth year. We're very excited. We are screening about 25 films. 2 of them are feature films. Yes, 25. 2 of them are feature films. One of them is a music video, which I'm very excited about. And the rest are short films. And I couldn't be more thrilled, me and the team.
So let's see. Now it's Thursday the 19th through the 22nd. How do people see? Let's do that, and then we'll rewind and talk about the specifics of the films, etc. But where do people see the films? How do we participate in the Mott Haven Film Festival?
Yes. So October 19th is our opening night. It will be taking place. It will be taken. Oh my God, I can't do the sentence now. It will take place at the Bronx Brewery from 6 to 9. We will be screening 4 films from previous years. So we will have something in each category, like horror and comedy and such. And that's basically our networking night. But then the actual screenings are going to be taking place Friday the 20th, the 21st, and the 22nd. And that will be taking place at the Lincoln Hospital Auditorium.
Oh, that's wonderful. So the first night is at the Bronx Brewery.
Yes.
And you're probably not going to be able to get the same refreshments at Lincoln Hospital that you get at the
No,
Bronx
not
Brewery,
at all, right?
which is actually a wonderful place. Are they going to do it outside, or I guess? Wow, that'll be
yes,
really
we're going to do it at the backyard, which I'm really excited about. Yeah.
Very, very exciting. How do films get selected?
So we have a committee, right? And each person in the committee watches the film, and then they kind of like have a grading system. And then they come together and they say, well, we're gonna, pick this one, this one, this one, this one. And then if I don't partake in that decision making, but if there's a film that I really did like and it wasn't selected, I kind of, do my trump card.
How many people are on that committee?
4.
4 people, and are they're local people? They're filmmakers.
Yes, they're filmmakers, and each of them have like a particular, what's the word? Like a particular specialty, right? And so one of them is director, the other one does DP, which is director of photography, and then we have a sound and an editor. So they come together and they see things a little bit differently from each other, which is a good thing.
Which is a great thing. How many do you get in? Like is there like a big volume of it? Do you have to like call people and say, hey, what do you got now? How does it work?
So we have been fortunate enough that we have had overall, I would say, almost 300 submissions within the 4 years.
With the 4 years, okay, but still, 4 years, that's significant. Yeah. That's like 150 a year.
Right, exactly. And so it's pretty it's pretty good because we have a lot of people that come and they submit like every cycle, right? And it's really nice to see one particular director like just grow throughout the years, right? And so we're very happy for those people as well that they keep supporting us that way. And yeah, this year we had about roughly 50 submissions.
Wow.
And so, due to 10 constraints and other things, we had to really narrow it down to 25. But the decision is never hard, that's always the hard part. Like
are you ever surprised at that volume? I'm surprised at that volume. And what it says to me is, of course, what I know about our home borough of the Bronx, that it's a wonderful place, and we just we're bursting with creativity that nobody knows about. I mean, that's what this is all about.
Right. And that's something that really became evidence the very first year that we did this, right? So in 2020, when we were having our inaugural event, we had, I believe, give or take, like 40 to 50 submissions. And that was in our first year. So that to me said, this is about 50 people that want a film festival in their borough. And so, we just been able to grow year after year, and I'm excited about that. I'm really
Wow.
happy that we're able to give that avenue of expression to the filmmakers.
I don't even remember if I asked you this. Obviously, it's not your first time on the program. Are
Yes.
you a filmmaker? Have you been a filmmaker? Or this is not, that's not your thing? Your thing is to help promote the arts.
So my excuse me. So my background is actually in PR and communications, but my sister, which is the director of the film committee, she's the filmmaker of the family, and so she I saw all the struggles and the hardships that she was going through behind the scenes, and that's basically what triggered the entire idea of having a film festival in the Bronx, because it's something about having a skeleton crew, maybe 2 people, right? One person
Right.
holding the camera and the other person acting. That really just shows the dedication that they have to this art form. And I wanted to kind of like give back to the community. And this was my way of giving back, to provide such a service.
Tremendous. It's
Yes.
it's a tremendous thing. Last question before we show a couple of clips. Have you found that the quality has improved over time? I realize it's not 30 years like BronxNet 30
Yeah.
years, but
Right.
but it's 4 years. Have you seen, because I'll tell you, the clip we're about to show, woo. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
it's really a film.
Yeah, there's one of the things that I was always very strong about was that I wanted to give everyone an equal platform, right? So the overall idea is if you have a beginning, a middle, and end to your story, then your chances of getting into the festival are very high. We understand that there's students out there. We understand that there's people that are learning the the tricks of the trade through like YouTube, for instance. And then there are those that do go to film school, right? Or some sort of certificate
Right.
program.
There's
And
people at all different
right,
levels. Yeah, yeah.
exactly. And so um some people film on their iPhones, right?
Right.
And some people actually rent the cameras. So that's something that over time you appreciate.
You appreciate, and they get better and
Mhm.
better. So this first one, well, I mean, we're just going to show it. I would say to people, you might want to put your seatbelt on, because this is it'll scare you.
Uh-oh.
So here we go. Let's let Anderson roll the magic box, and let's see what it looks like.
On edge as the urgent search continues for a possible serial killer or killers.
The head has been decapitated from the body. The lower extremities have recent surgical wounds. Surgical wounds?
You smell that? Like some type of perfume.
To be extra vigilant and to not walk alone.
Looks like our guy adds another victim to his list.
It should be bribery.
Yeah.
Oh man. So congratulations, Grace Claudio. What a piece this is. So there's a schedule. These will be shown, and people do come to see them, right?
Yes. So we have different blocks, right? So we have for Saturday and Sunday, we have a 12 o'clock noon block, a 3 p.m. block, and then Saturday we have a 6:30 block. And then that Friday, the 20th, we do have a 6 p.m. block as well.
Let's say I don't want to take time to review them all. People
Yes.
can get to the Mott Haven Film Festival on the web. I mean, how can they get all the info?
Yes. So our primary way of getting in contact with us or getting the most up-to-date information is through our Instagram page on, Mott Haven Film Festival. And then, of course, you can visit our website at motthavenfilmfestival.nyc.
.nyc. We got one more where it's a short one to show. And so I'm only smiling because they really make, like you saw in the last one, they really have impact. Let's take a look at this one. Here we go.
Hello, friend. If you're reading this, I've either been caught or killed. Regardless, you'll soon bear witness to all I've done.
He's really starting to scare me.
Sign the divorce papers and leave them alone.
Starting to freak me out here. You trying to intimidate me?
Out of all the women you could have had, why my wife?
Well, there you go. short but sweet. And this year, the note that I got was that you'll be screening 9 films from the Halloween and April event at Comic-Con. Are these two one among them?
No, but maybe we can get them for 2024.
All right, there you go. Listen, Mott Haven Film Festival is Thursday, October 19th through Sunday, October 22nd. Make sure we check it out. Ninoska, people show up to watch the films?
They should. They have to.
No. Have they done so in the past? I mean, we've had good audiences.
Yes, we have. Yeah, we had sold out shows, and then we had shows that only 2 or 3 people show up. We had a little bit of everything, which is fine.
Have you changed it through the 4 years? Have you said, well, last year it didn't work, or once you defined what you were going to do, it was the same thing throughout?
We've added days. So
because there are more films and you got to do
exactly.
more. Wow. So it's gotten larger.
Yes.
Does it ever surprise you how much creativity there is in the Bronx? I understand 90% of the filmmakers are from our home borough.
No, it doesn't surprise me. It just surprises me that we didn't have a film festival beforehand. Yeah.
And listen, there's the 48-hour film challenge. There's people making films. This is a real important thing. It's important to BronxNet. Of course, we have our Wednesday film series as well. Ninoska Carolina, thank you. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. Mott Haven Film Festival. Look for them online. Look for them on Instagram. And we'll see you around town, I'm sure.
Yes. See you, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
You. Okay, that will we'll thank Ninoska once again, and we'll also thank Ethan from AM New York Metro. And you know what happens if the curtain don't fall and the creek don't rise? I'll be back next week. Good night.